Welcome back to Film Critic. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most anticipated reboots of recent years, The Crow 2024. The original 1994 film, with its gothic aesthetic and haunting performances, became an instant cult classic. But does this new version manage to recapture that magic, or does it stray too far from what made the original so memorable? Let's find out! The Crow 2024 is directed by Rupert Sanders, known for his visual flair in films like Snow White and The Huntsman. This new adaptation brings back the grim, rain-soaked cityscapes and the tale of vengeance from beyond the grave, but with some modern twists. Starring Bill Skarsgård as Eric Draven, the film attempts to balance homage with innovation, a challenging feat given the cultural significance of its predecessor. From the outset, it's clear that Sanders wants to set his own tone. The film opens with a sweeping aerial shot of the city that feels both familiar and new. The rain pours, the neon lights flicker, and the soundtrack pulses with a mix of nostalgia and fresh, eerie soundscapes. Immediately, we are drawn back into a world where the line between life and death is blurred, and justice is served in the most supernatural of ways. Bill Skarsgård takes on the role of Eric Draven, a character immortalized by Brandon Lee in the 1994 original. Skarsgård's portrayal is an intriguing blend of brooding intensity and raw vulnerability. He brings a different energy to Eric, a more tortured and psychologically complex version of the character. Skarsgård's Eric isn't just driven by revenge. He's haunted by the choices he made in life and the unfinished business that death can't erase. The supporting cast, including FKA Twigs as Shelley Webster and Danny Houston as the new antagonist, adds depth to the film. FKA Twigs delivers a haunting performance, appearing in flashbacks and dreamlike sequences that amplify Eric's torment. Meanwhile, Houston's villainous turn is grounded in a grim realism that contrasts sharply with the supernatural elements of the story. His character is less cartoonishly evil and more of a morally ambiguous figure, which adds layers to the film's conflict. Visually, The Crow 2024 excels. The cinematography by Jess Hall captures the bleakness and beauty of the urban environment. The color palette is darker, more muted, with occasional bursts of crimson that remind us of the violence that underpins the story. The camera work is fluid, often following Eric in long, unbroken shots that highlight both his physical prowess and his emotional isolation. The decision to employ practical effects for some of the more gruesome scenes pays off. There's a tangible, gritty feel to the violence that CGI often fails to replicate. When Eric takes down his enemies, it's visceral, bone-crunching, and entirely fitting for the narrative's darker tone. Thematically, the 2024 adaptation digs deeper into questions of morality, justice, and the cyclical nature of violence. It asks whether revenge truly brings peace, or if it merely perpetuates a cycle of pain. There's an existential dread that permeates the film, suggesting that Eric's return from the grave is less of a supernatural miracle and more of a curse. The script, co-written by Zach Balin and Will Schneider, keeps the narrative tight and focused, but introduces new layers to Eric's story. There are moments of introspection and philosophical musings that give this version of The Crow a distinct flavor. The film also makes a conscious effort to explore the socio-political landscape of its setting, using it as a backdrop for the unfolding drama. Let's talk about the soundtrack, an essential part of the Crow mythos. The 1994 original had an iconic soundtrack that perfectly captured the grunge era. The 2024 version takes a slightly different route, mixing contemporary artists with dark, atmospheric compositions. Think Nine Inch Nails meets Hozier, with a touch of Billie Eilish for those softer, haunting melodies. It complements the visuals perfectly, enhancing the film's somber tone and making key moments even more impactful. While there are plenty of things to admire in The Crow 2024, it's not without its flaws. Some pacing issues in the second act slow down the momentum, and a few of the new subplots feel slightly underdeveloped. There are also moments where the film's heavy-handed symbolism becomes a bit too much, detracting from the more grounded elements of the narrative. However, these issues don't overshadow the overall experience. The Crow 2024 is a bold, stylish reboot that dares to carve its own path while paying respect to the original. It's a film that might not please all purists, but it's undeniably compelling in its own right. Rupert Sanders' direction, combined with Skarsgård's magnetic performance, makes this a worthy successor to the cult classic. So, what did you think of The Crow 2024? Did it live up to your expectations? Or do you think some things are best left untouched? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this review, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future reviews. Until next time, this is Film Critic signing off.